Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. Now today, I want to talk about Maitreya, but in regards to the political and social ramifications of him speaking on TV, not only over the last 9 years, but also in the coming time. And yes, he's been on TV for 9 years. Yes, he's been speaking, very quietly and gently with a muted tone. I love that term, muted tone. Benjamin Creme's master was the one that came up with that. But he is speaking with a muted tone. I'm sure there's more things that Maitreya would like to talk about directly to humanity right now, but he can't because he knows that we won't, the reception wouldn't be that good. So Maitreya knows better than anybody else the hearts and the minds of the people who are hearing him on TV. Now, the reason why most of us haven't heard about him on TV is because I'm sure most people don't even know that they don't even know that this man is who he is. They just see a person on TV talking. And as distracted as our lives are today with our phones and getting to here or there, or our jobs or whatever like that, if we hear him on TV or on the internet or whatever like this, we might pick up on a couple things that he says, but the attention span of people I know in the United States is pretty low, so they might not be listening to everything, but they might hear him again in a week or 2 or 2 months from now or whatever like this, and it might start resonate a little bit more with them or whatever, right? And Maitreya is about the hearts and minds of all of us. He's about the transformation of those hearts and minds. But he knows that it's going to take time. So he's a man of infinite patience. So he's speaking a lot softer than an average person would be, knowing the urgency of the problems of the world. So Maitreya obviously knows the problems of the world better than anybody else, but also knows that we can solve them better than anybody else. And he's trying to get us to solve those problems. But he also knows that the reception is slow, because we're not 100% there yet, if that makes any sense. Now, Maitreya is not about he's about the structures of our governments changing for the people, but he's about people power. What the Buddha said, inspiring and galvanize humanity to build a brilliant golden civilization based on righteousness and truth. That's people power. In no way, shape, or form did the Buddha say he's going to inspire and galvanize the governments around the world to build a brilliant golden civilization based on righteousness and truth. We have to do it. In Revelations, the building of the New Jerusalem, they were talking about the new world, building a civilization on righteousness and truth for the whole world, not just for a city in Israel, you see? And everyone just gets triggered about the whole term New World Order. That's not what he's talking about, in terms of the Illuminati or whatever like that. It's about us making the changes. It's about us seeing the need to make the changes. You see what I'm saying? But no government in the world can withstand a galvanized group of citizens actively trying, implementing its will for change. There's no government that can withstand it. Just look at the video that I put up about the Berlin Wall coming down and how fast that happened. There was a wall that was, 15, 20 feet high, maybe, 10, 15 feet high. And it kept people at bay for so long out of fear because everyone was afraid of getting shot. They almost, I mentioned in that video that my grandfather tried to take a photo of it, and the East Berlin soldier pulled his gun on him and told him not to take a photo of it. It was pretty intense. You can't even take a photo of the wall, let alone, try to climb over it and run to the other side, you know what I mean? So, but yet, I think when my grandfather did that, it might have been the late 60s, early 70s maybe, and 15, 20 years after that, the Berlin Wall is gone, and it was very much a structure at the beginning of 1989, but at the end of 1989, it was gone, and yet that's the kind of changes and how swift the changes can happen when the people get together. So when I talk about Maitreya, what really lights me up is it's not that he's the return of the Christ. I mean, as exciting as that is, even if you don't believe it, that part doesn't matter, right? It's the fact that we have it within ourselves to make these changes. I've been told my whole life by everybody around me that we will never have peace in the world. And I believed it for the longest time until I read Maitreya's quote, without sharing there could be no justice, without justice there could be no peace, without peace there could be no future. And when I read that, it clicked in my mind. Yes, we can have peace. It might not come overnight, and it might not, come tomorrow or the next day or whatever, but there is a pathway to peace. We just have to act on it as a people. There's all these different groups, there's all these different organizations working toward, ending, the political problems in the world, or ending, the pollution on the planet, or so forth. But we're all kind of working independently of one another. The galvanizing force of who Maitreya is when he is out in full force working with the people for people power and people change, I mean, there's not a government in the world that can stand it. And that's who Maitreya is, really. That and the priorities. It's not who he is spiritually. I mean, it is who he is spiritually, but you know what I mean? It's not important for you to believe in what I believe him to be. So when people make comments back to me, oh, he's the Antichrist, or oh, he's this, or oh, he's that, that means that you're not really listening to what I'm saying. You're not even listening to what Maitreya is saying. Because Maitreya is not saying that. He's not telling you to follow him. In fact, he says, don't follow him. Don't try to put him in your pocket. Because then when you do, you've already lost him. He wants you to love the world and love each other and love humanity. And, he wants you to want for the world what he wants for the world, peace and justice. He wants you to realize for yourself that you matter, that you have a voice, that you're a creative being, that the same creative impulse that built the whole universe is within the hearts of all of us, just on a much, much tinier scale, And if you're in the United States, he wants you to not only believe that you matter, but he wants you to believe that other people matter. I think the biggest problem in the United States is everyone thinks that they matter, but, screw everybody else, right? I mean, just take a drive on one of the Atlanta interstates, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You take your life in your own hands when you drive on the interstate here, right? But we have to think about other people. We have to care about other people, right? I mean, I know this sounds kind of utopian and kind of pie in the sky, but the more Maitreya talks to people, the more people start to kind of listen to what he's saying, the more their hearts and their minds will start to transform. It can't help but do that. Now, if I'm wrong about who Maitreya is, then I'm wrong about who Maitreya is. But I do believe the fact that what he says is, without sharing, there can be no justice. Without justice, there can be no peace. Without peace, there can be no future. We don't need more bombs to create peace in the world. That's not creating peace, obviously, because it hasn't. I mean, one of the videos I put up about 2 Corinthians, even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. I think that's not about a person, the Antichrist, in the coming time disguising himself as a nice guy, or disguising himself as a man of peace when all along he's the Antichrist. I don't think that's what Paul meant. I think Paul meant, look at your motives, look at your intentions. Are they really selfless and pure, or are they selfish? Looking at from the standpoint of the governments around the world, right? Is it really, are we really over in the Middle East fighting for peace? Or are we fighting for our own self-interests? You see what I'm saying? And Jesus said, a tree is known by its fruit. Well, what's happened over the last 50 years? Have we created any measure of peace in the world? No, it's very unstable. It's a very, very, very precarious situation we're living in because we have the capabilities of destroying ourselves with nuclear weapons, you see? So it doesn't matter what you believe in terms of Maitreya or whatever. And and in most of the videos, I'm not even talking about the religious ramifications of the return of the Christ. I'm only talking about the social and political ramifications of the return of the Christ, because that's really what's important. You can believe whatever you want to believe. If you're a Christian, be a Christian, but be a Christian who doesn't want any more war. If you're a fundamentalist Christian, stay a fundamentalist Christian, but be somebody who wants to make sure that everybody around the world has food and clothing and shelter. And if you do that, I think you're right in line with the priorities of Maitreya and the priorities of Jesus. Because you're going to find eventually, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but eventually when you see Jesus and Maitreya working side by side, you're going to see that their priorities are exactly the same. If you go back and you read the Bible about the way Jesus interacted with the people, it's exactly the same, except for Maitreya is talking about it on a worldwide level and not just for those people that were living at that time. If Jesus came today, as Jesus did 2,000 years ago, he would be talking more about world changes than just the changes within Palestine. Because he wasn't talking to people that knew anything about the other side of the planet. They had no clue, that they didn't even know that there were people living on the other side of the planet. So when he was speaking to them, he was speaking to them so that they could understand him. Just the same way that Maitreya today on TV right now is talking to people so that they can understand him. That's why he's not saying, I'm Maitreya, or I'm the one that Benjamin Creme has been talking about these many years, or I'm the one awaited by all the world's religions, or whatever. He's not saying that. He's just talking directly to humanity about the needed changes that we need. But, and as always, take action. Help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Have a great day.